Hey, this is Jpar, and you are listening to the new review. Today on the show, we have Clayton, we have Myles, and we have Da Boo. And today on the show, we're going to be reviewing Thor, Ragnarok. That's right. We're going to be reviewing another Marvel movie. Get used to it if you aren't already. We're back. We're really excited. It's season 3! What do you guys think about season 3, folks?
Where'd the time go?
Already?
Now, I know we're almost up to your 1-year anniversary there, Clayton.
Yeah, I guess you are.
Yeah.
I guess you are.
Yeah.
Wow.
Beginning of season 2?
Yeah. And
I came in hard on
Good math.
season 2. Yeah.
3 minus 1.
About,
they have a Final Fantasy.
yeah, that's right. Kingsglaive, greatest movie ever made.
that movie.
As a game intro. As a movie, it was.
That was your first review, so that was in December. So we're almost on your 1-year anniversary.
Still trying to figure out if it was a review or not.
Yeah.
Jury's still out.
All right, so we've been doing this for some time, and we're also doing a second season of Late Night Ticket, which you can check out on Eastlink, and I'm sure you folks know that. You can check it on demand if you have Eastlink in your area. Usually 10, channel 10 if you're in the local Sudbury area, and on demand if you're outside the Sudbury area. Now, we're going to get into Thor Ragnarok. That's right, the new Marvel movie, and it's starring...
Wait
Chris
for it.
It's starring Chris Hemsworth returning as Thor, Tom Hiddleston returning as Loki, Kate Blanchett this time as Hela, Idris Elba returning as Heimdall, Jeff Goldblum as the Grand Master, Tessa Thompson is Valkyrie, Carl Urban shows up, Mark Ruffalo is... We can't tell you that until Spoiler Town. Alright, it's the Hulk, you know. Anthony Hopkins is here, he's Odin again, and others. So we're not going to give everything away just yet. So if you haven't been following the Thor series, this is part 3. And I don't know what to tell you because they're all kind of different. So I don't know what to say. You don't really need to watch the other Thors to watch this one, I would say. But what we usually do here is we're going to review it. We're going to give you a rating. But we're not going to get into spoilers just at that point. And then we'll flip into Spoiler Town and we do what we do best. We're going to tell you what we hate and what we like about this movie. What did I miss, guys? Did I miss anything here?
No.
I think pretty much
Directed by Taika Waititi.
What's that again?
Taika Waititi.
See, I didn't say it wrong. It's
I
Waititi.
could
It's just
be
fun to
wrong,
say.
but I'm pretty sure that he's also the guy who plays one of the characters. Korg, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is weird and also very cool for him. It is, too. He plays Korg's voice.
Yeah.
There you go.
People learn something.
Yeah, interesting.
All right, so want to break it down? Who wants to take first crack at Thor Ragnarok?
I want to hear what Myles has to say.
All right, Myles, start us off.
Well, what do you want to know? Like my impressions going in?
First impressions of Thor Ragnarok, sir.
So, whoever did the trailers for this movie deserves an Academy Award. Because I watched the trailer for this movie, and then I watched the trailer for The Last Jedi. This trailer for Thor Ragnarok gave me chills. It starts off with Thor in chains, monologuing to Led Zeppelin playing in the background.
Mm-hmm.
My God, that was genius.
Amazing.
I'm in. I'm invested. Take my money. I don't care anymore. And then the second trailer, it had more of like an 80s synth vibe to it. And I'm invested even more now. How did you do it? I was already there. So going into the movie, I knew this was not going to be the same Thor movie that we
have seen in the past.
Seen before,
like Dark World and the original Thor.
The original Thor was Shakespearean, so it's a really serious take on Asgard and all the mythological stories behind the gods. And then the second one tried to be a little more lighthearted and took place on Earth, but it kind of fell flat. And then this one going in, you're wondering, okay, what am I going to get? Because the trailer seemed like it was action-packed, seemed like it was comedic. So going into the movie, I had some pretty big expectations as to what this movie was going to be. Completely different than the other movies. By other movies, I mean Thor movies. Because it seemed a little Guardians of the Galaxy-esque.
Very much.
Like music-oriented, action comedy, space drama sort of going on.
Yeah.
So
a lot different from the other two Thor movies.
Yes, completely different, and a welcome change.
Okay.
Because, I don't know, the first two movies were kind of, it shouldn't have been called Thor, it should have been called Bor.
Oh.
I went there.
Throwing some shade at the Thor movie.
Yeah.
All right, Da Boo, first impressions.
Well, I'm glad you talked about one thing that stuck out for me, which was so unique compared to the other two Thor movies. It had a musical tone and a visual tone that was completely perpendicular to the other two, literally. I mean, it was a polar opposite to what I expected. But what was great was that we got this, as you had put it, this Guardians of the Galaxy-esque kind of feel, because we were suddenly no longer strictly on Asgard. We were out in the cosmos in a variety of ways, actually. And I don't want to give away too much, but it was enough to say that it was a very colorful experience, and along with that came the music. So the score was just, it's almost like they understood everything that was just really spot on and popular as of right then and there, along with the 80s synthesizer, because we've been getting a lot of that as of late. But they understood the crowd, they played on those notes, and it played beautifully. And I think that's exactly why you said it yourself, the trailer drew you in even before you went to see the damn movie.
Yep.
That speaks volumes on how great of a writing it is. On the other hand, it's funny you say the humor, because I didn't expect it to be as humorous when seeing the trailer for the first time. I could tell there was a tone of humor, and I expected a little bit out of Thor's character especially. But given the way the movie was all the way through, there was a lot more humor infused into it than I expected.
Oh, yeah.
But for good. It was a very entertaining, joyride.
All right, my first impressions, I mean, when I saw this trailer, it's like I was kind of like in the same boat as Myles. Like that first one had the Led Zeppelin playing. It's like, come from the land of the ice and snow. And it's like, that's so perfect. That's totally like describes Thor, and like Led Zeppelin, they sing about Lord of the Rings all the time. So it kind of goes along with that fantasy kind of element really well. And like you said, it feels like they're doing a Guardians thing for sure. They're like infusing like the vintage rock with the colors and the color scheme, like the beautiful colors and the galactic travels, So, and of course, everyone just is excited to see this because we all know that the Hulk is in this movie and he's going to be fighting him, and he's wearing, guess what? The World War Hulk armor. So, of course, everyone's pumped to see this because we can't get like another Hulk movie. And so we're going to see it in the form of Thor. Like, I mean, he wasn't in Civil War, neither was Thor. So now we get to see them two kind of have their own little Civil War in a way, maybe. I don't know. So a lot of interesting elements. Jeff Goldblum being here as the Grand Master was actually the brother to the Collector, who is played by Benicio del Toro in Guardians of the Galaxy. So a lot of really cool elements. How can you not get excited? I mean, of course, I'm a Marvel fanboy, so once again, super excited to see this movie. Now, I'll let you know what I think when we get into the ratings. Clayton.
Yeah, I don't... my relationship with the Thor movies has been really strange because the first one went right over my head. I really didn't care about him. I never followed the Thor comic books. So just because he was coming to the big screen, I wasn't like, oh, wow, it's Thor, and I didn't just jump on the bandwagon. And I hated the first movie. I thought it was garbage.
I agree. I don't like the
didn't
first
care.
Thor. It's actually my least favorite Marvel movie.
And then I wasn't really on board until Avengers came out, which I felt was the sequel to Thor, basically. Because it's Loki as the bad guy again, and it's Thor, and it's just a bunch of other people added in, you know what I mean? But it always felt to me like the spiritual sequel to the movie. And so at that point I was
it's
on
odd
board.
that you say that, because I almost feel like it's a spiritual sequel to Iron Man in some way.
That
because
too.
it focuses on Tony
It
a lot.
is. It's like all of the they all came together,
Yeah.
but there are strains of all of the different, or some of the different Avengers in there, right? Any of the
Right.
ones that they had previously built up before that.
Anyway, so...
But I was on board after that, and I was like, oh yeah, Thor, and then The Dark World came out, and I never watched it. I had things going on, you know? It was a good year. The Red Wings were hot. I don't know.
Oh, God.
And so I never actually watched it. So then when the trailers for Ragnarok started popping out, I was like, well, this looks interesting because it looks different. It doesn't look like they don't just show you Thor and he's like, we have to save the galaxy. You know what I mean? Like, they did a fun spin on it, and they did something different. They, like you said, they put that awesome Led Zeppelin music in there and all those crazy colors and stuff. And, you know, I was affected by the blinking lights and the awesome music.
Right.
So I was pretty stoked to
It was
see
definitely
it. So,
visually appealing.
yeah, it was right away, and they you could tell that they definitely had a very certain vibe that they were going. I don't know. I just wouldn't have been surprised if I would have seen Thor on like roller skates or something in that trailer for some reason.
God.
I don't know. It just has that late 70s fantasy space vibe to it. You know what I mean? Like a very heavy metal-y vibe. So yeah, I was pretty stoked.
Is it safe to say that, I don't know if you guys felt the same way, but when I went into this movie knowing that tone of the trailer, and again, using the use of the Led Zeppelin song was great, but in my opinion, it was almost like in the back of my mind, I was worried it was an excuse to get my attention, and then going into the movie, they would not have used the song once or anything like that. I would have felt like it would have been a disappointment if they didn't. I'm glad they had used it, obviously, but I'm almost worried that they lost a little bit of their seriousness with the way they approached this one. The humor is great. Don't get me wrong. I love humor when it's used properly, but I feel like when you're dealing with a movie that's trying to set a tone that's going to be quite serious, building up to something even more serious, I feel like we've all commented the same way in that, we were sold on the Led Zeppelin theme song, we were sold on the visuals, we were sold on the retro 80s
So
vibe.
why don't you tell us your ratings then, since you're getting into it?
Well,
sounds like
okay.
you wanna-
I think it's just because I feel I was almost a bit concerned going in. I'm glad I left fully entertained. So if I'm going to put a number to this, I felt like it was a strong 4. It couldn't go any higher because I think it was still lacking on the seriousness that I was kind of hoping they would have maybe ended on. Maybe that's what it was. But it was ultimately this really interesting, dramatic journey. You didn't know where it was going next, right? Whether if it was concentrating on Thor's character or if it was something like Heimdall, who was nowhere to be seen up until later in the movie, obviously, but it just came down to it that they each had a unique role in this movie, different from the other two. So the movie's tone was completely opposite to the other two. Maybe that's why I feel like I enjoyed this more. It was almost like if I gave a progression from the first movie to the third, they each were just slightly better than the next on each newer one. So that's my rating, 4.
Yeah, I have the same problem with this movie that I have with Guardians of the Galaxy 2, as in what Da Boo said, which is it's hilarious. This movie is hilarious, but it doesn't stop and take itself seriously at any point, and that's the biggest flaw of this movie. It's hilarious from beginning to end, and it's a great movie-going experience. It's visually appealing. It's just funny. It's joke after joke, and they're funny jokes. And you're going along this space adventure, which is basically a buddy comedy with Thor and Hulk, really, kinda, in some sense. But I feel like it's a comedy first, and then a superhero movie second, in some ways. So, I mean, I just felt like there was a lot of parts that really needed gravitas, and it didn't have it. And that's kind of its biggest fault. But as a theater movie-going experience, and as a first-time viewing it, I'll give it a 4. Maybe on repeated viewings, it'll be more like it'll slip down to a 3.5. But as a movie going to the theater and just a fun, colorful experience to enjoy, yeah, it's a 4.
Yeah, it's safe to say that if I had to add to what I was saying earlier, it is a theater experience above all else. And then when you see it, at home for second, third, multiple viewings, I definitely see some rewatchability in this. But you have to mimic what you're saying. If I go back to it, I'm worried that it probably would go down a little lower. But still fun.
All right, Clayton.
Sorry.
Okay, I'm going to give this a 3.5 because, and I'm going to echo a lot of the things that you say, Jay, actually. I felt like it had the same problem with Guardians of the Galaxy 2, where Marvel seems to have hit on this magic formula of action and comedy, and they just leaned a bit too hard on the comedy, and it didn't really feel as forced as Guardians of the Galaxy did in some places. It didn't feel quite so
Yeah, I agree.
formulaically placed.
I actually like it slightly better than. That's
Yeah,
why I gave
so
it a
do
4,
I.
because I kind of tossed and turned on the Guardians of the Galaxy 2, and I would give it a 3.5 now.
At the same time, like the jokes and stuff, even when the jokes stop, it seems like the plot is so light on itself that it undermines the seriousness of the events that are happening, especially
it's
as
Ragnarok.
as you get farther in. Yeah, Ragnarok is like, well, I'm not going to spoil it, but it's a major event. It's a huge event, and they kind of just gloss over it, and that's kind of that.
Yeah.
So I'm
not
just
wrong.
going to go with a 3.5 because I liked the comedy and the action were both amazing, but I felt like at the end of the day, they should have had a little bit. They should have had a little bit something more solid and deep to go on to finish it off with.
All right. And Myles.
I'm going to echo Clayton, 3.5. I wanted to give it a 4, but just like he said, the seriousness of things happening in the movie were immediately deflated by comedy. Now, the comedy was a nice addition because I'll remember everything that happened in this movie before I remember the other two movies, just because there's so many good jokes.
Oh, yeah.
Like one-liner after one-liner, it was like a machine gun. I missed a couple jokes because the whole theater was laughing.
Yeah, we had a really
Same here, yeah.
joyous theater. The group of people as well. Everyone was laughing in our theater.
No, I'm not saying it's a bad movie. 3.5 is nothing to shake a stick at. It was fun. It was lighthearted. It was action. It was comedy. But it needed to be serious where it was funny in a few points. And I'll get into it when we're in spoiler town, because there's a few major events that happened that weren't addressed later on in the movie.
I'm pretty sure I know where you're going to go
Okay.
with that.
So that kind of was a little upsetting, but it didn't take the score down far enough that this was a bad viewing. Like you guys said, if you watch this movie again and you don't really care about plot or story and you just want a good time and like take your family or whatever, this is the movie for that, for sure. So yeah, it's a good movie.
All right, so now we're going to flip into Spoiler Town. This is where we're going to break down the movie. We're going to tell you what we really like and what we really don't like about the movie. Actually, you know what? Mind if I take the helm?
Give her.
All right. I'm going to do my worst and my best. So I'm going to start with... my worst, and I think we've already touched upon this, is that there's no gravitas when it's needed, and it's something that's called... It's Thor Ragnarok. And this is spoilers now. Ragnarok is the end of Asgard. It's Asgard's Armageddon. So this is the end of Asgard. So, and we're also, like, don't forget, Marvel fanboys and fangirls, we're getting into the Infinity War soon. So we're getting into a serious tone here soon. So I'd kind of like if they slowly amped us up to what was going to be, like, what we're going to be dealing with. Because I know it's going to be the Russo brothers, right, that are doing the Infinity War, and they did an excellent job with Captain America 2 and 3, Civil War and Winter Soldier, which I think are both two of Marvel's greater works. But so I'm excited to see, and they seem to meld the comedy with the action a bit better, where this one kind of doesn't. So I feel like in scenes where, you know, like Odin passes away, yeah, that happens here. Like, I mean, it's like every time you get like this serious tone, it's just like it's immediately taken away from you with some joke or some witty, quick one-liner, you know what I mean? Like Asgard blows up. It's the end of Asgard, you know, and then it could be this dramatic moment that could give you something, and then they just throw another joke in there, and then it's all done, you know what I mean? It's okay. I mean, it's fun. This is great. This is a fun movie, but I mean, when is it going to stop and take itself serious? You know, that's my major gripe with this movie. So yeah, that's my worst. My favorite is...
There's a lot of good. There's so much good.
There is a lot of good. It was definitely a good space romp adventure, and I really appreciate that it is different from the other Thor movies, and that all the Thor movies stand on their own as different movies. I really like that Hulk was in this. I enjoyed Jeff Goldblum's, as quirky as he was, I enjoyed him as the Grand Master. I thought he kind of fit that godly-like character well, just because it's Jeff Goldblum. I don't know why. I wouldn't expect to have liked Jeff Goldblum in a Marvel movie. I think he'd be like out of place, but I actually enjoyed him. There was a cameo by Doctor Strange as well. But my favorite thing, you know what? It's got to be the comedy. Like,
it's funny.
It knew what it wanted to be. It knew what was wrong with the other Thor movies, and it kind of fixed that. And maybe it went a little too far in one direction with the comedy, but it's still.
The writing just hits in the right way. Like, it just...
it's fun. And then, like when Thor gets to Hulk, like everyone's seen it in the trailers, like, we're friends from work! Like, that's the comedy all the way through. It's always that. Oh, another thing I don't like. I don't want to take everything away, but, I mean, this kind of diminishes the World War Hulk story a bit. because the way they delivered it. I know we can't have another Hulk movie, you can't have a solo film, and they kind of tried to
why not?
add a small part of it into this, which I don't mind.
Universal
Why?
owns the rights to Incredible Hulk,
Yeah.
so he can't have a standalone movie, but it
That's
could be a
what's going on.
cameo.
Oh, I see. I see.
Gotcha.
So it's not a World War Hulk movie. It's a Thor movie first, and then you got Hulk on the side as his buddy, his partner in crime. So, yeah, I guess that's my best and worst.
Am I up next?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I just gotta slip this in here.
Oh, God.
Ew.
If I had a nickel.
That's what she said.
You're thinking about Hela again, aren't you?
I hate Kate Blanchett.
Oh, okay. What are you thinking
What?
about?
Oh my god, I
Why do
hate,
you hate Kate
I
Blanchett?
hate Kate Blanchett.
I liked Kate
hated
Blanchett.
her in the Lord of the Rings movies.
What the fuck?
Oh man, yeah, I can't
dude.
stand her. No, fuck Kate Blanchett.
I'm slapping him around now.
Ever since I saw her in Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull,
Okay.
she absolutely.
I agree.
She makes me quit. I look at.
Why would you pick that movie out of all the films she's been in?
I didn't. I saw that movie, and the influence of that movie bled into everything else that
Well,
she's
then that
ever
means
done.
you hate Harrison Ford, you hate Shia LaBeouf, you hate everything.
No,
that
just
had...
her. She was a German scientist who had this weird
Okay,
way of
but-
slipping into an English
You must have
accent.
saw Lord of the
every once
Rings
in a while.
before you
It
saw-
I did, but that's what I said. That movie made me hate her in everything.
Ugh,
It was like,
whatever.
you disgust me.
That's
I don't like
That's
her.
too bad.
Did you have a problem with Valkyrie
She's-
too, or
okay.
what?
She
What
carries
you-
Jasmine.
She carries
was
a
okay.
That was a good movie.
Oh,
Kate
but,
Blanchett.
I've never seen it.
anyways,
Performance.
Best and worst.
Well, yeah. With your
okay,
worst,
so
So the worst
My
is
best-
Hela was in it.
so the worst is he
Actually, I didn't
doesn't
mind
like
Hela's
Kate
character.
Blanchett.
Yeah. My best was Korg, because I didn't feel like they advertised him, and yet he was like this pleasant little surprise, and he in every scene he was in was just he didn't really have that much to do with the story, but at the same time, like, he was just always kind of in the background over somebody's shoulder, like, oh yeah, that's gonna be a problem. Oh yeah, hey, we're stealing this ship, you want to get on? Like, he was just
Yeah.
like. He was just kind of always in the background. He was always there, and I liked it because it wasn't like the Baby Groot thing from Guardians of the Galaxy 2, where they're like, in your face, Baby Groot, dancing Groot, buy the toy, it's coming this Christmas. They're like, here's Korg. He's like, he's a guy who went to a
Mike, we're
revolution.
gonna start a revolution. You want to join us?
He went to
We're
a
gonna jump on the
revolution where
station.
only his mother and her boyfriend showed up.
I don't like
and he
that
hates
guy.
the one guy. Like,
Yeah.
it's just, he's really funny. It's just the way he delivers his lines.
Go away, ghost!
Yeah, he kicks the wall. It's just
when
excellent.
Loki makes an illusion when he's talking to Thor in the
and there are
jail cell.
characters that they introduce. Most of what I liked about the movie is just the characters that they introduced. Like the fact that they brought in some of the larger characters, like Surtur and the Fenris Wolf. Like I'm really big into Norse and Greek mythology, so the fact that they bring in those other characters that you. Like, it kind of sucks that they don't really explain them all that
Yeah.
well. Like, Fenris has a much reduced role, but at the same time, it's neat to see that they're actually reaching.
Well,
a
I
little
mean,
deeper.
if they're gonna destroy Asgard, they may as well use the good stuff now, right?
Yeah, and
Fenris,
then,
is that the executioner?
no, that's the wolf. That's the
Oh,
big
the big wolf. Sorry, yeah, you're right.
Oh God!
Um,
you actually reminded me of something I don't like.
Scourge, Carl Urban.
Yeah, he was pointless in this
he
fucking
was,
movie.
He was a MacGuffin.
And he wasn't the Scourge
He was-
that's I'm used to in the comics.
No, he was a MacGuffin. They had him on the back burner until finally he's like, yeah, it's time to make a stand, and then he just jumps out. With
Yeah,
his,
that
with
was
his machine
useless.
guns.
That was dumb.
That
We
was
didn't
dumb.
need him in the movie at all.
I thought that felt a little forced. They needed to be able to pinch Hela from both sides, so they had him jump back out of the ship. That seemed kind of weird. And then my worst is going to have to be the thing that permeated the whole film was, like you guys said before, the lack of the gravity, the gravitas in certain scenes. Like, Odin dies, and I can see how. So Odin dies near the beginning of the movie. Hela comes through the gate, so they don't really have time to process their grief.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the final scene where Thor and all of the Valhallans are leaving the destroyed Valhalla, which Korg delivers an awesome line. He's like, as long as the bones are good, we can come back. And then Surtur destroys it, and he's like, well, no, that's done now.
Yeah. Well, that's
the
actually
point, like,
what I'm talking about.
Yeah, he says it, but then he says it, but then the thing is that in that scene, both literally and figuratively, everybody turns their back on the destroyed Valhalla as Thor walks to the front of the ship and takes the helm, looking away from it, and it's like a big middle finger. Like, I understand that Thor, you've just realized that Valhalla is a place in your heart, and that it's not where you actually work.
Yeah, you keep it's
sorry,
Asgard.
Yeah. But at the same time, like all of those people, that was their home. They lived there. They had their children there. They had their homes there. Everything. Like, you could have spent a little bit of time absorbing the fact that your home is now gone. Like, it's completely gone. The humor worked good for the movie for the most part, because I mean, if you think about it, Thor is like, he's like the original dude, bro. He's like, you know what I mean? Because all he did was drink and fight.
What was his name on the ship that Tony set up? Point Break.
Yeah, Point Break. Yeah. He was though. Like, if you read the old mythologies and stuff, they drank every night and fought every day, and he was the champion of Valhalla, of Asgard. Asgard. And so the humor works there, but then, like you said, it works against it. Because they just wouldn't take the time to grieve for things like that.
Exactly.
And there were certain other parts throughout the movie too where they did that, and they just robbed it of the weight that it had.
Exactly.
So that's my worst.
So your worst is
I'm
humor.
confused.
Your favorite is Korg.
My favorite is Korg because he was so unexpected, and I knew that the movie was going to be funny going in. I knew that the action was going to be good because some of those cinematic scenes, like the Valkyries riding in on Hela, and the fight on the bridge,
that was awesome.
That was awesome. But what am I trying to say here?
You're trying to say that it's deflated from the comedy.
It just takes
everything looks fucking awesome.
It does,
and then someone throws a little one-liner out there.
Korg. We were talking about Korg. Okay. I knew we were going to get the awesome action and the cinematography. I knew we were going to get the comedy. I knew we were going to get the good visuals, and the obviously they were pushing the cool music. But I didn't expect Korg, and that's what made him so good. He didn't have huge parts throughout the movie, and he didn't really affect the outcome of it all that much. He was just like, "Hi, here I am."
All right, well, thanks, Clayton. That's all the time we have for today's episode of We Promise Nothing.
I just saw it today, okay? So there's a lot of stuff. Yes, that's fresh in my mind. Okay. Yes, it was a very busy day.
All right, Myles, your best and your worst.
Okay, so I think we can all agree the best was the comedy. The first two movies were just so effing boring. You find yourself doing chores while you're watching the movies. Like, who's this guy? Who cares? He'll probably be in the sequel.
Unlike Blade Runner.
Yeah, but...
Did he throw a spoiler?
Well, I don't know. We already talked about Blade Runner, but that's a whole other story. But yeah, it's the comedy. I was amazing. From start to finish, I was laughing my ass off. I can't believe the jokes that they're coming out with. Like Korg, like you said, he had some great one-liners. He's pulling out weapons for Thor. He's like, "Hey, do you want this?" No. Well, what about this triple stake thrower? He's like, "No. Well, I guess you're right. It's only good if there's 3 vampires all cuddled together." What? Where is this coming from?
Remember, like at the end, he's like, "Oh, I think they're talking about." He's like, "Oh, we'll start a new place with you and Meek." He's like, "Oh, Meek's dead.
I stepped on him
on the bridge. I've just been carrying him around because I felt bad about it."
Yeah. And then he comes back to life.
He is alive.
Yeah. What was your question again?
What were you saying again?
Yeah, that was pretty funny. Yeah, Korg was hilarious. Everybody was funny. Like, Valkyrie was a drunk, and even
Hulk
she was funny
too.
Hulk was funny. Like, he comes out of the hot tub naked, and Thor's like, "Oh my god, I'll never get that. Oh, now it's in my brain." Yeah, that was hilarious.
And they're
calling Thor baby arms, and I'm like, "Oh my god."
The competition between Thor and Hulk was actually really funny.
It was so good.
Hulk like raging fire, you like small smoldering fire.
Even Mark Ruffalo by himself was funny. He was like, "You might not remember me until just now. Watch this." Jumps out of the ship, knocks himself out. It looked like he was dead. Yeah. That was hilarious.
You expect him to turn into the Hulk, and he just hits the
KO.
Hits the Rainbow Bridge, the Bifrost Bridge, as Banner just.
That was genius.
I thought it kind of reminded me of the scene with Edward Norton from Incredible Hulk, where he jumps out of the helicopter and he expects to turn into the Hulk mid-fall, realizes it's not going to happen, and then ends up hitting the ground anyway.
Yeah.
So that reminded me of that.
But then, it wasn't the perfect movie. The bad. You guys nailed it. Like, it was so deflating, and there's no gravitas for some major events. Like, we lost the Warriors 3.
Yeah,
in an instant.
I know.
In an instant, they're gone.
Unceremoniously
it was
killed
the weirdest
off,
thing.
and it's like, oh, you're dead. You're dead.
And
Bye,
they-
Fandrel.
They
Bye,
did it, and then they introduced us
that guy.
to the Executioner for the rest of the movie, who did nothing.
Yeah, he was useless.
And then his death meant nothing, because who cares? And then Odin, we lose him, and he literally turned into a fart in the wind. You know what I mean? Just like, you're my favorite. And then he's gone into the wind.
Hey!
Like, what?
Will I get Odin power? Don't worry about it.
Yeah! There's just so much, like, the
speak-
plot and story was so razor thin, but they filled it with comedy, so it's you don't realize it until the end of the movie, and you're laughing, and the credits are rolling, it's like, hold on a second. They never said anything about the Warriors 3 dying, or Odin dying.
I know, like,
or, like,
I don't
who
remember-
cares that Asgard is gone, and it's just, like, all this...
I don't remember
major
Thor
pivotal
being
stuff.
like, my friends are dead, you know? Like,
Yeah.
Yes, he never absorbed it.
Yeah.
It was intense, and I wonder if this is where we're going now. Now that we have the Infinity
it worries
War,
me, yeah.
if we have the Infinity War, I think death is going to be the greatest thing, like the most like prominent thing that's going to happen, and it's just going to be a wave of death. Like, he's gone, she's gone, movie keeps going.
Yeah.
Fuck it, like it's gonna be a tide that comes in, takes characters, comes out.
I
Just
hope
that.
it's not
Yeah,
like
so get
that.
used to it. That's my feeling. I don't know if it's good or bad. but-
Everyone needs like slow motion Frodo deaths, like from Lord of the Rings.
Well, in the second movie, and this is gonna be a spoiler for you because you didn't see it,
Oh no.
Thor's mom dies,
Oh.
and it's a pivotal moment because
Yeah.
Loki, you see emotion from him.
There's
Thor,
a lot
you see
more
emotion from him.
gravity
Odin,
in that
you
one.
see emotion, and they even have a funeral for all the fallen Asgardians, and they go off, like off the Bifrost, and they all turn into the mist or whatever. But that was emotional. That was gravitas. That was needed. And this movie had zero of anything. Like, all those people
Yeah.
are dead. Who gives a shit?
Right, exactly.
Even Korg, you know, he makes a joke. He's like, oh, as long as the foundation is good. Boom. Oh, shit. You know, and it's just like, oh, okay.
Exactly.
So that's why it got a 3.5 for me. It would have got a 4 if they would have been serious, like Guardians 1, where it needed to be
Yes.
serious, and funny when it needed to be funny.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
like you guys said, somebody said it leaned too much in that funny direction and not enough in that serious direction. And I don't know if this is a sign of things to come with Infinity War, because that's the whole story, is death, right? Thanos wipes out a majority of the heroes in an instant. So I don't know. I don't want to end on a bad note, but that's kind of where it went for me. It was like a canary in the coal mine, or a sign of things to come. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Well, it's weird with them running constantly in that direction, like with like two movies in the same year, like Guardians and
Well,
and
even
Thor.
Spider-Man Homecoming is full of jokes.
They're running in the comedy direction, but they don't seem to understand that there's going to be a serious amount of blowback when they come to the actual Infinity War, and things are not funny anymore, and it's just they can't laugh their way out of it. Like, it's a dark storyline.
Yeah, we can't have the Tony,
yeah.
Chris Pratt, Star-Lord one-liners anymore. Or
It needs to be, like you
Cute
said,
baby
Guardians
Groot.
of the Galaxy or Civil War. It needs to be a good mixture of both.
yeah,
I think they are telling these jokes now. They're reaping in the cash rewards now of having these instantly viewable and catch like imitatable catchline movies. You know what I mean? Like, where they're funny and everybody really likes the characters and they latch onto them and everything. But it's going to come back to bite them in the ass later when they have to do away with a bunch of them and they have to be serious. Because then when the story, you're going to see how thin their story actually is when you can't just laugh everything off.
Exactly. Did you get to your best and worst there, Boo? Did you want to jump in on that?
Yeah, I'll make it brief because I feel like we're all on the same page, which is actually kind of great because I was worried that this was a movie maybe you guys had really gotten into and I just felt like I got something totally different out of it. I'm going to start by saying when I first commented how my impressions going in, I got an impression from a certain vibe from the trailer. And Myles, you said it perfectly. It was almost like they got you instantly with that whole Led Zeppelin theme song and such. Okay, you drew me in. Sell me the rest of the movie from here on in. I go into the movie and I suddenly realize that it's all the way through. That's not the Thor I was expecting. It's not necessarily a bad thing, hence my 4 out of 5. So having left the theater, I felt genuinely entertained. I felt like this was a movie I could rewatch, so safe to say it was going to get a good rating overall. However, as we all summarized, I feel like my biggest complaint of all, and I'm not going to summarize it too much, I think it was just that it's safe to say it lost its seriousness due to the overuse of comedy. You can write lines in a movie in such a way where individual characters have certain characteristics that carry that comedic vibe. Some of them were great. Korg was one of them that you guys had mentioned plenty of times, and I can immediately think of all the moments that were always funny. It's kind of funny when I really think about it. His character was so useless that it makes me wonder why the hell was he captured in the first place, because he doesn't seem to really fight, you know? Like, he was there to cheer on anyone else that came around to be the next fighter, expected them to die quickly, so he was kind of like just, shooing them away.
I think it was because he was made of rocks. He kind of brushed upon that, and then some of the pebbles fell off him as another joke to...
Right. Yeah, you're right, he did. So, of course, his character
day.
carried no weight whatsoever other than just kind of throw in those one-liners to keep us entertained. Fine, that's great. But when it came down to it, I was expecting one scene to be exceptionally serious. And that goes with your complaint with how they took out the
Warriors 3.
The Warriors 3, thank you. So, Hela shows up, and I know right away what kind of tone is going to happen. She's going to start killing people off. And she did exactly that. But at the same time, she shows up, and as she's just killing off the Warriors 3,
and I can't remember the bigger guy's name.
Yeah, she's got one-liners coming out of her mouth left and right, to the point where she's not even taking herself seriously, actually. It's almost like she expected more of a fight when she arrived, and I think she even acknowledges that, and then she arrives, and then there's the executioner, who just happens to be the janitor, as he would say. I just thought it was nothing at all was taken seriously, so that when I got to the ending of the movie where it was the ultimate fight of Thor meets Hela, I needed to take that seriously. It was kind of cool to see Thor become Raiden, with the whole the God of Thunder.
I think he got the Odin Force. I'm not sure.
Yeah, and you brought that up, and I was fine with that. So his character suddenly got more serious than Hela. Okay, now I know there's an actual fight about to occur, and we got a great cinematic fight. But again, going back to the ending, it was like, well, we knew Ragnarok was going to happen. But all the way through, I did not feel this impending doom of the end of the rock. Yeah, Ragnarok, the end of the world. So having said that, it lacked in the impact on the ending. What needed to have that serious tone on the end, like hammer hitting the nail, it didn't do it for me.
Well, the thing is that they don't... another thing that they don't point out, though, is that, okay, so Asgard is destroyed. But Asgard is the seat of power for all of the 9 worlds. The Bifrost is destroyed. Yeah, they lost everything. They didn't just lose the little crystal city and the stars. They lost everything.
It's almost like they would say that Asgard would be the hub to all of the 9 realms, right? So that if they lost control over that hub, what does that mean for the rest of the realms,
That's
right?
what I mean.
I think this ties in with how we simply say that we know it's leading up to the Infinity Gauntlet or the Infinity Wars. I'm not getting that vibe yet. And yet we're getting closer and closer to the ending here. I don't want them to throw at us 3 Infinity War movies that only stand alone by themselves. Sorry, whatever. Even 2 is even worse. The point is they have so little time to tell us a larger story arc to end it on. All of these build-up movies need to carry a tone that carry one into the next. Not just share characters from each other's universes so that I know that they meld with one another. They can do that. That happens by itself. But if you don't carry enough of a serious tone, I could not take it seriously. So I thought it was weird that I left the theater thoroughly entertained, enjoyed it for what it was, but left kind of dissatisfied knowing that I wasn't really expecting this to be an immediate tie-in to the Infinity Wars. So that's the major disappointment.
Yeah,
that's the major 2 points, or so I should say the 1 point lost out of, I guess it's 2.5 points.
Because right at the end, big reveal, huge ship shows up behind the ship that Thor and all the other Asgards are in. We can only assume belongs to Thanos. So...
Yeah, there's not much else you could take away from that. Like, that's the only thing you could take away from that. That's got to be what it is.
I think it's the Black Order. I think it's Thanos' minions. Like, he's got 4, I don't want to call them horsemen, but he's got 4 disciples that think he's a god, basically. And they do his bidding.
So, other tie-ins, like Hela kind of calls herself the goddess of death. Now, do we kind of expect Hela to be like death that he's trying to kill all the heroes for? Because he's in love with death. That's the story of Thanos.
See, that would have been nice to know, because she sort of just comes out of nowhere. Odin farts and disappears. and then she appears.
Well, he's like, oh, by the way, you have a sister. She's deaf. I'm
And-
dying.
Yeah,
it was
once
like,
I
where-
die,
wait.
she'll be released into the world. Have fun
but
with that.
released
Yeah,
from
exactly.
where? Like, where? If she was in hell, Hel, where she is in the comics, that would have been sweet. Because then, like you said, Thanos wants to court Lady Death, and that'd be amazing. They kind of, that's gone. Okay.
Well, you
They
didn't
still
see her
could.
die.
We don't really know if she's dead.
I don't think she's dead either. Like, her and her fight with Surtur there, and then Asgard blowing up.
I'm sorry to say, she's kind of too good to kill her off. It's Kate Blanchett. Sorry, Clayton, but
The
she is a good
character
actress.
is too good. Kate Blanchett's
Academy
too good.
Award winner, Kate Blanchett. You know.
I will
Somebody
say
likes
this.
her.
I realize I don't think I did my favorite though. By the way,
Oh, sorry.
wait, no, that's fine. I think it's because we're all over the map with our comments.
Well,
on
we're
this
pretty
movie.
excited
That's fine.
about the movie. Like,
It's a movie
we
that had
did
a-
enjoy it overall.
We're talking about it, so that's good. I'm just going to simply say this. I think I love the fact that the only tie-in I could tell that drew me back to what I think was an excuse to bring Thor back to our other heroes, the portion of our team that we're missing.
The
right?
Avengers.
Back, on Earth. So what happens when Ragnarok takes a hold of Asgard? Well, Asgard, as you know, it's in their heart, so to speak. Where do they decide to bring it? Well, they plan on going back home, or at least to Earth. Which, to me, in my mind, I'm thinking, there's the excuse. Now there's Thor going back to meet the other team members because we knew damn well they had to group back up together. I think that was great.
However,
And I'd have to admit, Doctor Strange was a nice little surprise at the beginning, too. I knew he was coming, but I knew damn well that it was the only way that Thor was going to make it back to and from any of the universes.
from Midgard to Asgard.
To get from Midgard to Asgard, exactly. So I'm glad they did that.
I instantly, when I saw that last scene, thought that for whatever reason, the setup of the next movie is going to be that Thanos' forces are using the Asgardians as leverage with Thor, and they're going to have Thor fight against. At least they're going to use Thor as a. You know what I mean?
Well,
they're going to use his people against him, basically.
I
It's a
don't.
bargaining chip.
I
Yeah.
don't know if you guys have seen the leaked trailer for Infinity War.
Yes.
No.
I knew you were going to say yes, and I knew they were going to say no. But, big time spoiler, Thor is floating in space at the beginning of the trailer, and he's picked up
In
by...
rubble.
Yeah, in rubble.
Space rubble.
In rubble, and he's picked up by the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Okay. So I rescind my previous comment.
So yeah, something is definitely going to happen with that ship, and it's going to be bad for the Asgardians, and Thor is going to be separated from them,
Yeah.
and then he's going to be picked up by the Guardians, and then now we got our tie-in finally with somebody.
Yeah, from the Avengers.
Like the Guardians just keep
But
on doing stuff in space.
It's pretty... The trailer's pretty amazing because it really highlights the Guardians and Thor a lot, and they show Iron Man and Spider-Man quite a bit as well.
It shows also Doctor Strange working with Star-Lord, which is cool. Like he makes the portal steps. We're really ruining the trailer for you.
I haven't yet.
It's probably not going to be the same trailer, because even look at the Thor Ragnarok trailer. There's stuff that happened, like Thor losing his hammer. In the trailer, it's happening in like an alley. In the movie, it happens in like...
They change
Field
stuff.
and-
yeah,
Norway.
field and... yeah,
So
Norway or some
another
shit.
thing, he loses an eye in this to become more Odin-like.
Not in the trailer.
Not in the trailer. When they show that scene of him on the bridge when he's like surging the lightning through his body, he
Yeah.
doesn't have the
They're
eye
trying
missing.
not to
Exactly.
spoil it, which is actually cool. They're
That is
actually
cool.
I do
shooting
like that.
separate scenes specifically to hide critical plot points.
Well,
I think
in
that's
the,
pretty cool.
In the Infinity War trailer, when they pick him up, he's got two eyes.
Exactly.
So
Same
there's
thing.
another thing that is going to be changed, like Comic-Con trailers.
Did you so imagine if that's then like maybe they didn't think that far ahead and then it's a hole. Did you guys notice any holes in the movie? Like because
yeah.
there was one thing that I noticed that actually really irked me that felt like a dead end. Banner is talking about how he's been Hulk for 2 years.
Yeah.
And they never go any farther with it. Why? Like he just
Yeah, they
he's been
play back
Banner.
the video and they show him as the Hulk getting
Oh,
sucked
yeah.
into a black hole, and then that was it.
Yeah, they don't explain much
And then
about
they
it.
go
No,
into
but
the
then-
Devil's Anus and the name of the portal.
Yeah, the name of the portal,
And
literally, it's Devil's
mysteriously, like,
Anus.
wake up in front of Asgard. It's like, okay, so are these black holes going to replace the Bifrost then? Because they went from Sakaar to Asgard, in
yeah.
a second, which is the Bifrost. And there was portals everywhere. So
Yeah, the Hulk thing bothered me because it seemed like they were going somewhere with it, and I thought you were going to find out that Grand Master had like a chip on him somewhere that was keeping him angry. They were going to like, oh, I can pull this off. No, he just
had no
needed
chip.
to see That's what I
Yeah.
mean. He
Yeah,
just
it was
needed
weird.
to, and he was the only gladiator in the Grandmasters games who didn't have a chip.
Yeah.
So
He was the only one that
he
wanted
just
to be there.
He got marooned there and then just wanted to stay there.
Yeah, he did. He didn't want to be
People
on Earth
worshipped him.
anymore.
They liked him there.
After the events of Age of Ultron, he didn't want to be around them because he destroyed that city because he was turned crazy by Scarlet Witch.
Wakanda.
Okay, but you know,
wasn't-
the
I don't
point
think it was
that he
Wakanda,
was
though.
like he was alarmed that he had been Hulk for 2 years.
Because that's where they got the
Wasn't it close to
vibranium from-
Sokovia?
No. It was Wakanda because that's where they got the vibranium from
Okay.
Ulysses Claw.
But anyways, that's the big battle
Yeah,
between
it's-
him and the Hulkbuster.
Yes.
So and then okay, I gotta say that was one of my favorite scenes where they made fun of that. Where it's like, come on, big guy, the sun's going down. Like,
the
oh
sun's
my
going
god,
down, yeah.
I felt like I was the only one dying laughing in the theater
it
when
was
that was
pretty funny.
happening. Oh my god, that was.
I
Great.
felt like they made Ruffalo, they made Banner more neurotic this time around too. Like when he comes out of being the Hulk, he's like really screwed up, you know, like he's all scared and stuff, and then he's like, what is it?
He's got no memory of the Hulk. So it's 2 years of blank
So they
time.
could bring Scar later into his son.
If he porked someone.
Well, he was there for 2 years. You gonna tell me
he
a gladiator
and he
doesn't?
was a gladiator, the best gladiator.
Yeah, they probably sent like hookers to his room and shit like that.
That fight between him and Thor, between Hulk and Thor in the arena was awesome, though. It was awesome.
Those poor
I
ladies.
was a little upset because I feel like they underpowered Hulk for this movie. Like I feel like Hulk before was a menace.
Oh,
in this
man,
one,
yeah.
I feel like he's holding his punches or
Yeah, but he's fighting
Pulling
another
his
god
punches.
too, right? And when he
Maybe.
grabs Thor by the legs and does what he did to Loki in Avengers, and then Loki
Yeah.
stands
Oh,
up and he's
yeah,
like,
that's
"Ah,
great.
how do you like it?"
That was
Yeah, that's
so
pretty
funny.
That was where I couldn't I had
Because that was 3 jokes in a row. Because he was doing his, "Come on, big fella, the sun's getting awfully low,"
Yeah.
and then he just
gives
grabs
him
him.
his hand. Yeah.
yeah.
Now you know how it feels.
Yeah. It was awesome. And one thing I noticed too, and I don't know if anybody else caught this because I never heard anything about it, but when he's on Sakaar and he first gets there and he's in the chair and he's being boosted through the orientation seminar where you're
Yeah.
meeting now the Grandmaster.
Yeah.
Do you know that the song playing in the background is the Imagination song from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory?
Oh no, I
Oh,
didn't
that's
know
Take
that.
hilarious.
a glass of pure imagination. That's
Oh,
what's
my
playing. No
Lord.
words or anything. I was like, I remember this song from my childhood. Started getting cold sweats. Like, no!
That's PTSD.
Yeah, it was crazy. I was like, how? Like, what would cause them to pull that particular song? It's such a weird juxtaposition for that song compared to what he's going through. It's so.
Now
I
that
get,
you mention it, I think it's the perfect song.
I get the feeling that there's like some kind of a connection there, but I'm just not seeing what it is.
Well,
you
picture
know?
Grandmaster being Willy Wonka, right? He's crazy.
Oh yeah, tell
but
me
he's
about those
very
garish
weird, yeah.
colors and stuff. As soon
Yeah.
as you get there, I was like, man, they landed on a Power Rangers trash planet. Like, you get
That's a
there
good
and
way to put
everything
it.
just looks like where the hell is
Crappy
he?
plastic.
Yeah, it looks like a
It's like if you hit it, it's just gonna shatter right
it's like
away.
a trash
it's the
Power Rangers
yeah, it's
set.
the trash planet. That's basically what it is.
Which is funny too because what's his name tells Thor when he's having the vision. He says, "Oh, you see, you're on a world with doors. Go through the biggest one." So that means to me that they dump Asgard dumps all of their trash in this space portal, not
Maybe.
caring where it lands, and it lands on Sakaar. You know what I mean? They know where it goes.
That could be, but he also has the Odin eye or whatever, so he knows he can see everything.
Yeah, so he knows where the trash is
All
going.
right,
Yeah.
so we're getting near the end. So any final thoughts there, guys?
Go see this movie in theaters.
Yeah, I definitely see it in theaters. I saw it in Ultra AVX. I don't think there's any other way you should see this
I
movie.
saw digital 3D.
Yeah,
Yeah, I saw
sorry
it.
to hear
The
that.
3D wasn't that good this time. I thought it was gonna be that good because Doctor Strange's 3D was good, but this wasn't good
Yeah.
for
And
3D.
don't go in taking it too seriously. It has its somewhat serious moments, but it's way too lighthearted to go down the serious path. So definitely just take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
As much as I don't ever want to tell anybody this, just turn off your brain and just enjoy the ride.
Yeah, that's a good.
It's
way to put it.
definitely
It's-
a movie to see in theaters.
It's a good movie theater, and you'll enjoy it if you go see it with friends.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just a fun little space romp with Thor and Hulk. So what's so wrong about that? I feel like there's stuff that we missed because I feel like there's actually a lot of stuff that happens in this movie, and I feel like there's probably stuff we'll think about later.
It's packed full of stuff.
It is.
I just saw it, and I'm still like, I wanted to see it earlier in the week so that I had some time to process it before the review. I just got kind of busy, but like I saw everything today, and I'm still trying to process it. But there was a lot in here all the time. There's always something happening.
Can I ask though? I don't know if you guys know the answer to this. You can visualize the scene where the camera was panning up in, I guess, Sakaar, the city of Sakaar, and you see the building where they're putting giant metal head fixtures mounted up against the building, and I guess it's all of their champions.
Okay.
Do any of those represent someone important that I should be aware of? Because I've noticed that, and
they
they're
had
very
the Incredible
distinctive.
Hulk right at the top.
Did you notice?
Half-built.
Yeah, right. So,
What's his name? From X-Men, when they go to space, he has
Gladiator?
the Mohawk. Gladiator? Is it Gladiator? I
Yeah.
swear I saw his head on there.
I don't know.
And I also thought I might have saw, what's the horse
They
Thor
can't
guy?
do that though. That's Fox. They don't.
Yeah,
right.
but
Yeah,
not
yeah.
necessarily because he's a space character. He's not necessarily an X-Men character.
They could have kept it vague enough to.
Yeah, exactly. Also, what about the horse face guy who...
Oh,
thought
Beta
I-
Ray Bill.
Yeah, Beta Ray Bill. I thought I might have saw his face, too.
I thought
up
I
there.
did too. I could have been wrong on that. That's why I'm asking, because I feel like he would have been the only character I was expecting to maybe show up in this whole scenario.
That would have been
on
cool.
Sakaar. That would have been opening up a whole new can of whoop ass in some other areas. You know what I mean? Like that's Thor, but in a different form, so to speak, for me anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, I just thought I'd ask.
Just don't let it happen again.
Okay.
All right, so you can always join the conversation at We Promise Nothing. Drop the G. You could give us a big old like on Facebook because you like when you do that.
English.
English. English. You can also check out Eastlink, Channel 10, 10 p.m. Mondays, and generally throughout the week on Eastlink if you're in the Sudbury area, and on demand if you're outside of the Sudbury area.
What is that show called?
That is Late Night Ticket.
Nice.
So make sure you
I'd
check
watch
your
it.
ticket because you get to see our handsome faces every week. So
I've been told I have a
It's
face
a-
for
it's a-
radio.
yeah, I told you that the other day.
Hi-yo.
All right, Virgin. This is Jpar signing out.
Clayton feeling like maybe he has a very romantic attachment to this review.
What was that?
How do you follow that? This is Myles heading towards the devil's anus.
And Da Boo going bye-bye.
And if you disagree with anything we said on the show today, you can leave a comment below. But as always,
We promise nothing.
Good night.
Korg.
Come from the land of the ice and snow.
Wow.
That, don't you remember that scene where Korg's talking? He's fucking Thor's trying to describe his hammer, and Korg's like,
Oh,
"Sounds
yeah.
like I had a
So
very
you ride the
romantic
hammer?
attachment to that hammer." Oh, it rides on your back. No.
Wait, you ride the hammer? That's kind of weird.